If you're in the YouTube tech sphere watching videos from MKBHD, Tech Arta, or put it very simply, if you're not from the United States and you've ever considered buying a smartphone, the brand Xiaomi should not be unfamiliar to you. Xiaomi is the #1 smartphone brand in India, #2 in the EU, and #2 in China. It is on every single smartphone review channel and it produces really gorgeous smartphones. The most recent Xiaomi 11 blew me away. I've tried it. It's fantastically fast. What's amazing about this company is that it didn't exist 10, 11 years ago. I'm not going to review Xiaomi 11 for you today. I want to talk about Xiaomi's business and strategies. It's such an interesting company to look into. Other than its smartphone business, it also has its IoT branch building smart pressure cookers and umbrellas. And now, of course, Xiaomi is building an electric vehicle company. I can't wait to share with you. Let's dive into it. It makes things simpler if I start by talking about Xiaomi's business lines. Xiaomi has 3 business lines: smartphones, IoT and lifestyle, as well as internet services. Over 60% of Xiaomi's revenue comes from its smartphone sales in 2020, a steady increase from 2019. This increase is attributed to Xiaomi's rise in popularity in Europe. Its overseas revenue growth was at 34.1% in 2020. In total, 146 million units were shipped globally. 10 million units are premium smartphones, defined as more than 3,000 RMB, which is around $500. IoT and lifestyle products include smart pressure cookers, umbrellas, and more. This accounts for 27.4% of total revenue in 2020, an increase from last year, but a decrease in group revenue share. Xiaomi highlighted strong growth in demand of certain IoT products such as robot vacuum cleaners, routers, and TWS earbuds. Internet services have improved by over 7% to 23 billion RMB, attributed to growth in advertising and gaming businesses. This is where MIUI comes in, the Xiaomi user interface. Through MIUI, Xiaomi has sold 12.7 billion RMB of advertisement in 2020, and it has over 4.3 million paid subscribers on Xiaomi TV subscription. But those 3 business lines are not created equal. Despite revenue numbers, Xiaomi's profit skews heavily towards services. Xiaomi's smartphone business has a 7.2% gross margin, IoT and lifestyle has a 12.8% gross margin, but Xiaomi's services has a whopping 61.6% gross margin. So Xiaomi's profit model basically is to leverage low-margin hardware sales to drive high-profit services sales. But this has a problem. The internet services business takes advantage of the Android store being blocked in China, giving customers a place to download advertisement and a payment platform, which is not scalable in Europe and India as Play Store from Google exists there. This is Xiaomi's Achilles heel in essence. Its profit margin is too low. Though Xiaomi's IoT and lifestyle devices do have a higher profit margin at around 13%, it is not as significant in absolute dollar terms compared to premium gadgets. Xiaomi's pressure cooker, for example, is sold for $40 and 13% of $40 is just $5. In comparison, Apple's products like Mac, iPad, or even AirPods all have profit margins in the double digits, making hundreds of dollars per sale. I wrote extensively about why Apple is able to capture huge profits in my newsletter. I'll link it down below. So how can Xiaomi break this chain and make more money in the future? Essentially, Xiaomi follows a T-shaped strategy, deepening its capability in smartphone vertical and broadening its product offerings to build the Xiaomi ecosystem. Xiaomi does this through investment in R&D primarily. The company could improve its product and broaden its offering through R&D. But here's an R&D spending comparison of leading smartphone companies in 2020. Alphabet spent 27.57 billion in R&D, which is equivalent to 15.1% of its revenue. Huawei spent $22 billion in R&D, which is 15.9% of its total revenue. Samsung spent 18.7 billion, which constituted 9% of its revenue, and Apple spent 18.7 billion in R&D, equivalent to 7% of its revenue. What about Xiaomi? Xiaomi's R&D spending is only at 1.4 billion. This is just 10% of what Huawei is spending, 15% of Samsung and Apple's R&D budget. Xiaomi is spending too little on R&D to be the number one in the smartphone industry. That's why it's so hard for Xiaomi to penetrate high-end market despite its high sale volumes. But it is not to say that Xiaomi is happy with the lower-end mobile market. Essentially, companies like Xiaomi must break the chain of Qualcomm and Android's dominance in order to really compete with Apple in profits. Samsung has tried and failed to do this for years, and the current geopolitical reshuffling of supply chain may be the best opportunity for companies like Xiaomi and Huawei. Xiaomi is also making an effort to break this chain through investment. Xiaomi deployed $3 billion into 93 companies in 2020. This is by no means an excuse for its lack of spending on R&D, but it shows us Xiaomi's focus for the future. Xiaomi's investment vertical concentrates in the advanced manufacturing and smart devices. By the way, this graph is my own analysis. You can check the detail of this in my newsletter, Disrupted. This is clearer when we dive deeper into individual investment verticals. When we rank Xiaomi's top investment by size in the advanced manufacturing vertical, capital is deployed towards the smartphone vertical. From camera solutions to AMOLED driver IC and AI chips to RAM, Xiaomi is investing heavily into the vertical. Much of the investment focus on mid to lower end semiconductor capabilities in the 45 to 180 nanometer node sizes. Advanced chips like M1 and Kirin are at 5 nanometer node. Xiaomi's latest Mi 11 uses 5 nanometer chips from Qualcomm. I have yet to see Xiaomi's fabulous chip effort that can rival Apple's M1 and Huawei's Kirin. This is perhaps the biggest weakness of Xiaomi's capability in the smartphone value chain. This may be a conscious choice though, seeing the consequences of the Huawei ban. Under Internet of Things, Xiaomi's investment focused on its ecosystem play with an aim to bring the company into the Mi ecosystem of home appliances, accessories, as well as personal products. Internet of Things is a hype word that companies use when they want to charge a higher price for the same product. The capital market reacts better with an IoT company than with, let's say, a pressure cooker brand. I have yet to see a true revolutionary IoT application in the consumer vertical. Most people living outside of China underestimate the diverse product offerings of Xiaomi's ecosystem. This website gives you an idea of what this ecosystem really offers. You can also see that in this picture right now. Xiaomi calls it Mi IoT, Xiaomi Internet of Things. It includes smartphones, sports cameras, drones, headphones, suitcases, VR toys, and even bed linens. These are under Xiaomi's IoT and lifestyle business line, and the total investment size is around 10 billion RMB. This is the T-shaped deployment strategy I mentioned at the start of this section, deepening Xiaomi's capability in the smartphone vertical through investing in semiconductor companies and broadening Xiaomi's product offering through investing in smart devices companies. Lastly, there is a new vertical Leijun just ventured into, electric vehicles. Very little is known as to how Xiaomi is going to approach its EV, but here is some of my thoughts. With $10 billion investment in 10 years, Xiaomi will not be able to build its own factories for manufacturing, as we can see that Tesla spends $2 to $5 billion to build the factory in the first place. Secondly, Xiaomi will not be able to build its own chipset for autonomous driving. It will probably buy NVIDIA's or Mobileye's systems and integrate them into the design because, as we can see, Apple is building its own chips and it's spending at least $5 to $10 billion just to build the chips. And most possibly, Xiaomi will approach EV production like how it approaches smartphone production, outsourcing capital-heavy manufacturing to Foxconn and BYD, and build software systems by itself. This is different from Tesla's OEM model, where Tesla builds EV and chipset in its own factory. Overall, Xiaomi is in the right place at the right time once again with its EV push. It is bold and it is hustling. That's what I love about this company. Though Xiaomi's inability to build its own chips and its lack of willingness to manufacture and vertically integrate the supply chain is worrying, it is impossible, frankly, for us to make an assessment of a business empire by looking simply at its profit and losses. those are short-term metrics. Xiaomi is not making as much money as Samsung and Apple, but its market position is now solidly in the top 3 for smartphones. Xiaomi's IoT business is great for the simple fact that the Chinese demand for smart appliances is expected to skyrocket in the next decades. And lastly, EV is clearly going to be the future. The sky is the limit for this vertical. Xiaomi does not have to be the number 1 in EV to make great profits. Perhaps Xiaomi never wanted to be number 1. Being the top 3 player in a $2 trillion business is good enough.